I build the word. You know, cry. And then you switch it. And I take the card and did a description how we do it. And you just go down that list. Cry. You change the I, the Y to I. Now, I do for the young ones, a little gesture. I did from my husband, he went like this. But I'm going to do it for you, for the young ones. Okay. Maybe I won't. Because I'll probably get the language wrong here, y'all. But this is my Y, okay? My legs are together, it's a capital Y. This is my I, okay? So who wants to read it to me? About the, I can't see it here. Okay. When a base word ends in Y after a consonant, we switch or change the Y to I, except after I. So you can do the little gesture. The little ones, when they're like in the 3rd grade, 4th grade, you've had them since kindergarten. And now the older ones, you're going to be surprised. I had an 11th grader. He could not remember the language. And I go, I don't do it. And he goes, after a while. You know, so he's doing all that, and you just get the language. They like it. And when they go, give you one of these, you go, you know, and they, oh, okay. So, and that has to do. And then the next one is dismay. You do not drop it. Okay, you keep it, and you just add furry. I put the R in there so you would see, because some of them will say, but it has 2 R's. And you go, yes, it does. Because they're still thinking the 1, 1, 1 rule. Okay, so I put that in there. Beautiful. Change the Y to I, and now you have a consonant suffix. One of the things I do almost every single time when I'm getting into the doubling rule, dropping rule, I lay out, have them sort the vowel consonants in one column, have them sort the consonant in the other. They're there so they can see, because they still will hesitate with, in the beginning, when you start getting into that doubling rule, they'll look at that and go. So you really need to realize, when we say, don't you remember? Please don't say remember. Our kids really don't remember. So you really have to have precise language. Don't take it for granted they remember. It's in there, but their files don't pull up fast enough. Okay, so you do have to give them, but you need to be able to have hand gestures or have the vowel suffix out and have them sort it before they start. It gives them time without you saying, you know, the vowel suffix. And they go, okay, have it out. Practice that every single time you introduce one of these doubling rules, 111, etc. And we go on. And then you have your diphthong. Okay, and now I have made you all, I did this, and I used these. These are the visual review. These are your word, not visual review, your word cards, and you practice. Over here on the changing rule, even though in her book she has on this page, these 2 pages are pretty self-explanatory here, okay? But when she gives you carrier, you're gonna have to say, carrier, what's the base word? And they go carry. And then you say the suffix, ER. So you really, why did they change it to I? Well, the base word's carry, and the suffix is a vowel suffix. So they look at that. You have to bring the language in all the time with them on this. Here, carry, drop the Y, add I, and add, because they're all except for ness and less, your vowel suffixes. Okay, she does give sentences. I'm still in level 5 of opponent phrases. Okay, this is a review. After you've done this and you want to review later, because our kids need to review. Alphabetic phonics, for a couple of us, 3 of us in here, we had alphabetic phonics. And if you buy this, you will see it's almost identical. This is who Sandra Dillon learned. This is where she learned it from. She was under Cox, and she changed it because one of the best things she ever did between alphabetic phonics and sounds and syllable is she held off the blends. She got the A through Z first, then she started bringing in the blends, and she brought them in very slowly. Okay, that's still, with the student I have, I'm in level 4, and when she hits that ending blend, it's just, she just hesitates, even though we have practice almost every day, every session. So you have, I gave you, and this is set up, I have this on words, phrases, and sentences, and if anyone wants me to directly send it to them, the master copy, because it won't work with what you're done send, because all that's on PDF. So if anyone wants me to send up the master copy where you can make your own, just all the time, practice, practice, practice.
Put your email up.
Hmm?
Your email needs to be available.
Okay. So I did the phrases and I did a couple of sentences. Okay. And I made you, I think that's it. Okay. So now I'm being fast. Okay. Oh, I thought, Meredith gave me the changing rule and the plurals and Greek. Oh, I hit these plurals and I went, oh, I forgot about them.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so we're going to talk about them one by one. I did give you sentences because if you notice, she gave you nothing. Nothing is in here. Okay, for phrases or sentences, you need them. You need to practice them. Okay, alphabetic phonics has some wonderful material. Now, what I'm going to do for you, when I didn't put in here, I'm going to give you page numbers of everything. I didn't Xerox like Joy and Patty, getting it from alphabetic phonics. I'm going to give you the page numbers, okay, where you can find which book, what page, okay? And like Ellen said, it's here. So if you want to come up and copy a couple of those pages, it's not a whole lot, but it's invaluable. Okay. The one rule that they need the most is, now this first one, I think, okay. We just went over if a noun ends in a Y after consonant, change the Y to I and add ES form. Okay, we just did that, okay, and to change it. The next one, if a noun ends in a Y after a vowel, that Y and vowel form a digraph or a dip. We just had that. We just talked about that in the changing rule that came in. So I started, I'm a little off here on my, gotta go down, over. Okay, the words ending in O, there is, oh, there it is. It's over to plurals, words ending in O. You see it on the little thing? I did words, phrases, and sentences for you. This is a hard concept. I will tell you, I found my words called Enchanted Learning. They had so many and I'll tell you how to get to it, but I was trying to pull up more words. First of all, there's not a lot, but they had more than the norm to find. They're certainly not in any of these other books, okay? So there was a lot of words that you can use. And down here, now the most important thing here, if a noun ends in an O, after a vowel, add S to form the plural. You need to highlight that for the kids. You need to review with the kids. You need to bring in the spelling. Everybody talks about when you have, where you used to have the kinesthetic piece on my little chart, I put tape over it and said review. In Orton Gillingham, they have review before new. Okay, so that kinesthetic was always before new. So you can put your review of the dropping rule, the review of any of these things, 5 minutes. It doesn't take a lot. Patty and Joy both showed you some of the things that you can do. You can put things on card, you can read them, you can match them, but that's where I do it. The other stuff, I go down in verbal expression with the grammar and what Trouter was talking about. That's where you can put that in. But when you're reviewing a concept like dropping rule and stuff, because it needs to be reviewed a lot, just because you introduce it one day does not mean they don't know it the next day or a week from now. So that's a good place for a quick activity that you can do before you introduce something new. Words ending in O after a consonant must be checked in a dictionary. Okay, I will tell you, I was checking when I was doing that. The best thing I own is that dictionary.com on my phone. Okay, it is amazing. But they need to learn how to use the dictionary so you can use that. I think dictionary.com on the iPad, computer, and everything has been so beneficial to our kids because they have the thesaurus, they have the plurals, the nouns, everything. And it's quick. And it's something you can carry with you, and you cannot pull up a definition yourself and you say, wait a minute, and there it is, you know, because there's some words in there you go, okay. So you need to introduce your kids to that. Words ending in F and FE. I did, where is it? Oh no, it's not here.
Yeah, it's on the second page.
Ah, thanks.
Second page. Right there.
Thank you. There is 2 things you can do. I gave you words. I gave you some phrases and sentences. You can make up your own. With 5 minutes? Okay, I gotta rush through here. And the best is to come, the Greeks. Okay. You can do sorting on the website. I will send you cards that you can put here. There is not that many. You'd be really surprised when I started really looking for words. When you look at it, unless you get into really difficult words that some of our kids can't handle. Irregular verbs, you look at that. Oh, well, I wanted to say about why I did the last one on Chevs. Even though she puts VES, when you're building on with our cards, they don't have a VES. So you have to, that's where you change it, okay? That's why it's there instead of all together like she has here. Even though this is easy to read, it's not so much when you spell, okay? Irregular verbs, most of our kids by this time really know the difference between man and men, child and children. But what you can say, if they're reading a list, you can say, children are many, more than one. What's the word for the singular child? So, depends on the age. When you get into middle school and high school, which I usually teach the most, they don't really need it, Okay. Even though, right now, I have an 8th grader, and sometimes I feel like I'm working with a 3rd and 4th. No visual memory at all. So it is a constant coming up with what physically that she can do and remember. Now, we're over to Greeks. Ta-da. Oh, by the way, if you want things to do for plurals, go to Pay for Teachers or Pinterest. There is so much out there that they have. Teachers Pay Teachers. You can Google F versus FE. There's worksheets. There's a lot you can work on that you don't always have to create. It's out there, okay? All those little 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade teachers, because this is really what this is, y'all. You know, they're terrific. My daughter tells me she's a 1st grade teacher. Okay, form the plurals. Okay, and now we have possession. Plural possessions. Of all of them, the ones they get the most confused about is the singular noun, possessive. The boys basketball, the girls swim team. Those need to be practiced. You can put them in phrases. You can do them in sentences, but they need that. Are we talking about one girl, or are we talking about a team of girls? Okay. Cheerleaders, whatever. Now, my Greek. Okay. First of all, this is Van Cleve, William Van Cleve. If you don't know who he is, he has 47 pages free on his website, and he tells you how to do morphology. And that will be in my handout for y'all online. How many of you have taken Van Cleve's class? Okay, so you know it's there. But for the new ones, go to Van Cleve's, and it says it's under resource or free, and he has morphology. He's really one of the best besides Marcia Henry. And hopefully, Marcia Henry. Okay, on the next page, it says Greek prefixes and roots. The Greek root parts are usually compounded, that is, 2 word parts are combined as a photograph in psychology and are thus called combination forms. A lot of people, even though Sandra has it as Greek roots and prefixes, most people say combining forms because you're really putting 2 parts together. And that's in Marcia Henry's book, which will be on the website. Okay, now here we are. I gave you a list, the same exact list that she has, except I broke it down in syllables. Amphibian. You need to be able to spell it like that. Say the word. When Sandra says, say it in the spelling way to say it. One thing I forgot, but I wanted to correct it this morning, was the accent. Y'all can go online and find that accent. But it'll be on the new when you get it. Our kids do better when they hear it broken down. And one of the people, and she's not here, which I'm really sorry, is, if you have taken her class, is Marilyn Zecker. She is the one that really believes in breaking these words down. When she teaches classes in math or social studies, study skills, she really wanted that broken down, and it really helps our kids to hear it. You need, if you're studying something, you need to break those words down into syllables, because these words, they'll look at this and go, amphibian. I can't say that word. Some of it you can code. Okay, so now, in her book, the only instructions she gave, make words and do it in visual. I did all, this is the same size as your visual cards. And she said, practice every day, okay? So, they're the exact same size. So you just put them in the back, you can put them on whatever color you want, as long as it's not tan, gray, white works. And over here, on this last one, where you have the frog, amphibian. Amphibian means both. You can practice, you can match it. You start matching amphibian first, that means both. Then you take the, we can call it a keyword, but it's really an image. And then you can start practicing those two. Greek words, or for our high school, they've had it. Middle school has had these words. But I did all these words over here, plus their prefixes that were broken down, and there's a couple of suffixes I have put in there, even though, I thought, okay, well, and on one of the websites, or no, actually it was in one of the books, they said magic. I thought, well, okay, so I'll think about that one. You can throw it away if you don't want it. But if you don't know, on amphibian, the dash after, you should already have been doing roots like Trouter said. By the time you're in level 2, you should be introducing roots and prefixes and suffixes. She does the suffixes. Okay, so this is a matching. It can be a concentration game. Okay, Meredith is telling me to move. She's next, that's why. No, Deb's next. So, there will be a lot of stuff on the website that Meredith is going to do. If you have questions, you can email me. I have the masters for the word cards. I have the master for words, phrases, and syllables, sentences. Okay. Okay, 20 minutes is not long enough. In fact, I said this should have been a whole day. So we can really practice. It needs to be more of a workshop that you can practice these activities. But if you have a question, please email me and I will send you what you need.
As you're transitioning, when you're talking about the website, is that where we're gonna go to ASDEC?
I think it's classroom.
Are we gonna go in the classroom?
No.
Okay.
No?
We'll let you
You'll
know.
let us know,
We'll
okay.
let you know.
Okay. Oh, one more thing I wanted to tell you. Patty found this. This is alphabetic phonics. It will be given to you at the end, but this is old, y'all. It tells you where you can find everything in alphabetic phonics that relates to what we do. Okay. So Ellen went and Xeroxed it quickly for us.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you will get it. You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions they want to submit? I'm collecting them.
I'm sure y'all do.
Collecting them. Many of them can be answered very quickly. Sorry. Thank you, Sally. Again, everybody who comes up here has extremely long line of experience. They have come up with wonderful ideas for making sure that the student learns. But what I really liked was the statement that before something new, review. Review before new. It is so important that you lay the groundwork for anything that has been taught previously. So there's connections made. And also to remind you that at this point, you've been doing reading expansion, shared reading. That is part of the reading portion of the lesson plan. That began at the beginning of level 4. So the whole workbook is rather just to practice with new material, but what she really wants to see you doing is practicing reading with non-controlled text and applying the procedures to that. And with that, you would have the advanced chart, which has all the sounds, and that needs to be visible, and you very slowly bring the student along to where they're reading more and more and you're reading less and less. And you apply all the comprehension, the vocabulary, learned words, and you always have them addressed for sounds, excuse me, for sounds that they have not been exposed to. You simply say, you will learn that, and this is the key word for it. Okay? So this is important for you to realize that the workbook is just a part. So I think I see a certain anxiousness, like I've got to get more reading, material to practice this particular sound. That's not necessary. There's plenty in the book. She's dropped the syllable cards for a good reason. Okay? You have the IMF page, and you have the opportunity to practice. I use the IMF page to go back and review before I move on to the next page, which is usually just a page of sentences. Okay? But that period of time of reading uncontrolled text is critical. It should be in place by this point. So what I'm going to be covering, if I remember correctly, starts on page 358 in your manual. And you have just taught the Greek combining forms. Okay, I do recommend that if you ever have a chance to take Van Cleve's morphology class, it's fantastic. He has wonderful handouts. But what we should have taught by now is the idea of Anglo-Saxon, which is all level 1 and 2 pretty much. And then we start fielding in a little bit of Latin. And when that happens, that's level 2. And in level 3, it's the first time I see port. And that's when I start teaching Latin roots. And in language 2, I handed out a sheet that Sally actually created that has all these Latin roots and prefixes and their meanings as being essential. Okay? So you can start folding in that as early as level 3. And then you get to level 4, a lot more. Level 5, actually, I start seeing Greek in level 4 a little bit. Confusion, for instance, when you do right off the bat, confusion, infusion, profusion, makes you think there might be a root there. And I looked up fuse, and it means to blend or mix. And that helps them to understand. You can do a little intro to that as a root, and then start building words on it. It's just really amazing how the vocabulary can begin to pop. When they're reading words, oh my goodness, there's so many words on these IMF pages they've never seen before or heard of. Have them check it as they're reading. Don't stop them and discuss every one. You need to keep that fluency moving, but at the end of a row, go back and look at those words that they've said. I have no idea what that is. You know, and that's important to feel into them, that assessment. What does that mean? They have to incorporate that into their thinking as they're reading. So we've just introduced the Greek combining forms, and Greek combining forms are basically, instead of Latin where you take a root and you add a prefix and a suffix, Greek combining forms is 2 roots that come together into one word. And they keep actually creating these new combining forms as science expands into new territory. So this is an important thing for them to understand, that 2 roots, tele, which means far, and scope, means to see. Telescope helps you see far. So it's a combining form, and that's where we get with the Greek combining forms. I make cards, match them, talk about them. I like that lesson probably the best in level 5, because you really get to manipulate vocabulary. Well, the part that I'm talking about is on page 358. Double check that. 358. And that is digraph EU. You all remember digraph WR? Remember back in level 4, WR? What did it mean? Do you remember?
Twist.
Twist, yes. It's an Anglo-Saxon prefix. Actually means to twist. A wrist, a wrench, to write, to have wrath. I mean, it's really a cool thing to give the meaning of that with the introduction. Well, EU is the same way. Have you ever heard a eulogy? A eulogy is when we give a special talk at somebody's funeral or memorial service that tells you all the wonderful things they did. So we're going to study all the things that that person did that was wonderful. So you means good or beneficial or beautiful. Okay? A eulogy actually focuses in on the person's life that was beautiful and of value. Okay? So all of these have that, the word eureka. I mean, these all have that meaning of, wow, that's beautiful, that's wonderful. Europe was actually named Europe because of its beauty. Okay, so these are things we can do to develop a sense of wonder about our language. So EU is only 6 linkages, and it is not regular for spelling. But I have been teaching all the irregular spelling as an irregular underneath. Okay, so let me example here. U is the sound, and at this point, they know U, consonant E, final position, open syllable U. And have they learned UE? EU, UE. UE. And digraph UE at the end of the base word is what I have the students say. Okay? So down below, we now have digraph EU. And that's what I teach, because when they're spelling something that has the sound U, they are not going to guess. They're going to know exactly what's regular, and they're going to know what is irregular. And they can use that as a backup if they need it. Okay? When you add this to your language notebook, the language notebooks have this page on it. Okay? You have the regular spelling choices, and down below you have irregular. If you've been doing the language notebook with your student and not filling in the irregular choices, you are not doing them the best service for this as being a tool. What we're teaching them is this is your first choice and this is your backup. That way they're not just thrown to the wolves to figure it out. Okay? And I would say that you do not practice that with them because they should master the regular.